Welcome to the Flickcast, the podcast about movies, TV, pop culture, and a whole lot more. I'm Chris Ulrich, and with me, of course, Joe Dilworth, my bosom companion.
Yes. How are you, Chris?
Or should I have said boon companion, not bosom? That sounds weird.
Boone's farm companion? I don't know.
Boon's. Ooh, I like that. Are we drinking on this episode, or no? It's not a drinking episode.
No,
right?
no, we haven't been doing that, so that's all right.
I didn't get that memo. If I'm supposed to be drunk now, then I'm gonna need a minute.
Well, when you're in quarantine, it's always 5:00. So
that's true. I've heard that. I've heard that's always 5:00 in quarantine. Although I might have mentioned this before. It turns out I really did not drink that much so far during quarantine. I thought, oh great, I'll be home all the time. I can totally cut loose. But in reality, I'm already kind of depressed, so I don't want to get more depressed.
You didn't refine the
I can laugh about it now.
Day drinking.
I think that many people have come before me and probably already perfected that before I was on the scene at all. But I mean, I will say that recently we had a very safe and masked, socially distant get together in my driveway, and.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice, actually. Some people came over and they brought their kid, and he was wearing his mask, and my son was wearing his mask, and they were sitting in the driveway on their iPads, basically ignoring each other.
Sure.
And there was a couple of beverages, and there was this and that, and it was nice, and we could talk to each other. You know, we were 6 or 8 feet, 10 feet away. Hey, how's it going? And
nice.
So it was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. So I recommend that if you can be safe about it. It's definitely worth it because it reminds you there are other people in the world, and maybe some of them are your friends. It's nice.
Well, I would certainly try that, but we have too much smoke right now. But you know what, though? Since we are little trade secret, everybody, we're recording the show well in advance. There is always the hope that by the time that this airs or is released, that all of this is over and things are doing just great. So
that's right. That's absolutely right. And that's also kind of the theme of this show too. It's an optimistic show.
It is.
But before we get into that, we should talk about the Patreon. You can find us on Patreon. We have a Patreon for the show. The Flickcast is the name of the show, and it's patreon.com/theflickcast. You can easily find that. We've made it as easy as possible.
We have. Yeah.
And we're, so that would be great if you want to, get on there and support the show. We'd appreciate that. And we can, use the money to get Joe some box fans and some filters.
And
that's kind
buy me some rain. I don't know.
Buy you some rain or, some better N95 masks or whatever you're using for the smoke. But yeah, I'm hoping it's all going to be fine. And by the time this show comes out,
sure.
And whenever it comes out, that all the smoke will be gone and you'll be having a happy life. That would be great.
And I just have to add that this is really a great time to join the Patreon because we've been recording all kinds of really fun stuff for our backers or patrons. Hey, I said it right. So
good work. There's
a lot of extra content coming your way if you are a patron, and if you're not, you're going to miss out. Is all I'm saying. So you really want to get in there and subscribe because it'll be awesome.
It is. We're doing some really good deep dives into some our favorite directors, and we're doing all kinds of stuff. And all the stuff we just recorded before this episode is comedy gold, and you don't want to miss that.
Yeah,
It's like butter. It's totally like butter.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people I want to hear all that, but hey, see, that's part of the allure right there. You're going to get us at our candid best or worst, as the case may be. So, you don't want to miss out on these extra things, especially the deep dives into directors, like Chris said.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Who knows what else? We may try out some new podcasts. We may, I don't know. The sky's the limit, So
that's right. Strangely enough, the being at home has actually helped my creativity, especially lately. So the ideas are flowing. It's been okay. There's some positives about having a lot of free time, being stuck at home with time to think. It's actually good.
Well, I have to say, and I'll only be mushy here for a second, that that you talking to me and getting me back into doing the podcast has really helped me, and it's given me a positive attitude and brought back my creativity too. So
that's great.
I'm energized. I'm jazzed. I'm very, very happy and excited to be doing this podcast with you again. And who knows what other creative outlets it'll lead to. So,
who knows, indeed. So, All right. So, as I said before, this is a positive, sort of forward-thinking, optimistic, if you will, episode.
Yes.
Today, we're going to talk about things that we're looking forward to: television, films, comic books. I don't know if we have any comic books. I could just be talking out of my ass too. Stuff that we're looking forward to in the future. Mostly, for me at least, on my list is mostly movies and TV stuff, which is not surprising, I'm sure, and probably similar for Joe, I would imagine. So we'll probably just do this in a simple way. I mean, maybe we'll just, go through the lists and talk about things we're looking forward to. It's things that are coming out this year, maybe still, barring any crazy new developments, and then things maybe that got pushed to next year or things like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But the point is, it's optimism. We're optimistic.
I'll say right off the bat to go ahead and get this out of the way, because I know you're going to be like, God, Joe, Marillion's working on a new album. So I'm just saying. And it'll be out sometime next year. So
that is very exciting, and my wife was very excited to find out that she already knew, but that Erasure, which is her favorite band, has come out with a new album too, which is actually quite good. If you haven't heard, they're really, I've turned the corner on Erasure. I was not a huge Erasure fan, but I've seen them live a few times now with her. Not lately, obviously, but when you could do things, and they're really good. And two guys make a lot of sound, and they do a really good job. So I've become more of an Erasure fan. They're not my favorite band, but they're up there. They're not my Marillion. Let's put it that way.
Well, there you go. They're still good. I don't know. Back in the late '80s, I don't know, mid to late '80s, I went and saw. I saw Duran Duran at a show, and I knew nothing about Erasure, and Erasure opened for them, and I was like, I got to go find their CDs. These guys are really good. So, no, I agree with you. CDs.
Yeah. Kids, CDs are things that you used to stick into a thing called a CD player. It was like a big shiny disc, and you had to use it. It was.
I got to go hack the downloader and digitize that. I don't know. I don't know what the lingo is, but
I don't know.
You can find Erasure on Spotify, I'm sure. So.
You can. You can. This is not topical. I mean, it is in a way, because the movie's like 20 years old now, or 19, whatever. It's the movie Hackers. I just watched that the other night again with Johnny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie and other people, Matthew Lillard, other people I can't remember, and I apologize for not remembering everybody's name. But
those are the only three worth remembering in that movie. But,
it is. The tech is so. Oh my God, it is such a product of its time. But the funny thing is, the movie, I enjoy it more. Fisher Stevens is in it, and Lorraine Bracco. That's anyway. And Penn and Teller, or just Penn. Anyway, I just watched it recently, and it was better than I remembered. It's fun, and it's one of those movies that is still strangely sort of, I don't know what the word is, prescient maybe, because they're talking about like a conspiracy of people doing things, you know, and like this shadow government stuff and whatever. I'm like, well, that's interesting. And so I don't know. That was sort of a weird segue, but it was fun. And if you get a chance to watch it again, it's worth watching, especially if you want to laugh at the technology, because it's hilarious.
I mean,
and everyone wears rollerblades in the future apparently, and it's the whole thing. So.
Well, I saw it when it originally came out, and then watched it again many, many years later after I was well into my tech career, and was like, wow, okay. Sort of like watching the movie Swordfish. I was well into my tech industry days. I still am, but I was well into them then when I saw Swordfish, and I was like, so, okay, never mind. But
I watched Swordfish for two reasons, and they're not Halle Berry's boobs, although they were in the movie.
Sure.
I liked Hugh Jackman. I still like Hugh Jackman. I shouldn't say I didn't. And he was okay, I thought, in the movie. And I was actually a fan of John Travolta back then, too. I mean, I don't hate the guy now, but he's done a lot of crap since then.
That was kind of his heyday return.
It kind of was. It kind of was. But yeah, the movie's horrible. Halle Berry looked amazing in it and had nothing really to do. I felt kind of bad for her. So anyway, it was shit. But
But,
how do you? That's an interesting. It's an interesting question though that no one really asked, but I'm going to ask it right now. It's hard to depict sort of technology and computers and hacking in movies and television. I think the one that got it right, or closest, at least in my recent memory, is Mr. Robot. Don't you think?
I mean, they did fine with it, and they were lauded for that. That like, hey, all the technology and tech and hacks and everything in it are actual and real. And it just took maybe Sam Esmail. Esmail, is that how you spell it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he.
Let's use that. Let's go with that.
Sure. Maybe he's that's a culture that he's involved in and knows all about it. But like any show, if your accuracy is going to depend on how much research you're willing to do or have time to do. I mean, that's kind of the thing that people are like, oh, they got that wrong and the tech's all wrong and stuff like that. On TV shows especially, they don't necessarily have the time to research it and get it exactly right. They almost have to just go, well, this works for the story, let's do that. I mean, so I mean, maybe because I know the behind the curtain stuff, I'm more forgiving in that area, but I don't know. I mean, like you said, Mr. Robot got it right, so why can't everybody else, right?
Well, I think they got it close. I mean, they probably, I'm sure there's some sued in some office saying, well, you can't show exactly how to do it because that's liability. We can't encourage people to hack stuff because that's the suit's job to say those kind of things. And, but yeah, I would say that they were close. I mean, I'm no hacker. I mean, I know some people who know some people who know some things,
right.
But it's just like, I think they got it pretty close as they could. And it was well done. But comparing that to something like Hackers, which of course was, 20 years ago or whatever, it's funny. But it's, what, if you have a couple of hours, it's definitely a nice trip down memory lane.
Sure.
And it's nice to, it's sort of optimistic in a way, which is nice, and that sort of plays into the theme of today's show. Yes. So we should get to our optimistic picks of things we're looking forward to in the future. Do you have a couple of things you want to throw out?
I do. The first thing I'm gonna bring up is kind of an expansive thing that is interesting in the world.
Nothing simple with you.
Yeah, no, it's not. It really isn't. In the world of Doctor Who, there is a new kind of multimedia event happening from now through the end of the year called Time Lord Victorious, and it's going across books, audio plays, comic books. There's like live events they're doing in London. It's basically everybody. It seems like everybody that has any kind of license for Doctor Who is being involved in this, and it's this just huge multi-platform storyline that just sounds great, and it's essentially, I think the Doctor kind of living up to his one-time potential of, what would happen if the Doctor decided the best way to save the universe would be to rule it. That's where it seems to be heading. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, it's kind of fun. I mean, on the negative side, it's going to be almost impossible probably to get every single thing involved with this because money, and also there's, one-off events that happen live and that's it. But on the other hand, I mean, it's also being designed so that you don't have to have everything to get the story. I mean, if you only like the comic books, you can get the comic strips and read those and you'll be just fine. If you only like the books, you can do the same thing with the audio plays. It's just nice seeing something that's being done that even though we're all kind of isolated, it's a multi-platform thing that's involving fans of all sizes and fans of any part of the Doctor Who story. So it's really cool. I think it's
what if you don't care about Doctor Who at all?
Then you don't need to pay attention to it at all, but I'll keep telling you about it. So
it's okay. No, you know what, like I've said many times, Doctor Who for some reason never did it for me. I did like Torchwood, but not Doctor Who. I don't know why. And I suppose I should go back and revisit it. Maybe I would find it more appealing at this point.
It isn't for everybody, and I totally admit that. I mean, I've been I've been a fan of it since I was a kid. And it just, whatever it was, and in the moment when I first saw it, caught my attention and my imagination, and it's been my favorite show since then, but it's certainly not for everybody,
And I'm not going to try to get you not to like it. I'm not going to tell you your opinion is wrong because that's stupid. And people try to do that. Joe, that's dumb. You should listen to me. Your opinion means nothing.
That's stupid.
You're stupid for liking it. No, of course I'm not going to do that.
Likewise, I'm not going to tell you that, you don't like Doctor Who. What's wrong with you? Because I don't, it's people like what they like, and we're not going to like everything. I mean, it would probably be a boring show if we, everything we talked about, we're both like, that was the best thing ever. What's next? Oh, that was cool too. All right.
Well, so I think that there's some room for that, and I think there's a lot of overlap between us.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm not saying I hate Doctor Who, and I wish it didn't exist. I think it's great for people who like that kind of thing. And I tried to watch it again when Christopher Eccleston was on, and I kind of got into it. I was like, oh, it's not bad. And then I don't know.
You don't have to like it.
No, I know it's a time commitment, and I just sort of focus on things that I really like, which is harder to find these days. But so cool. That sounds like fun, and that's something you're looking forward to, and that's happening also right now, which is nice, right?
Yeah, it is. It's happening now through, I think, even beginning of 2021. It'll be
excellent.
So.
Some of my stuff is more like I'm looking forward to this show coming back, or I'm looking forward to, and we talked about some of these shows before.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm gonna just roll off a few here. Definitely Mandalorian season 2. Totally looking forward to that.
Oh yes.
Star Trek Discovery season 3. Totally looking forward to that.
Yep.
I'm curious what they're gonna do with Pike and all that. Whether we're actually gonna get another show next year, Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I think is what it's supposed to be called.
Yes. No, that is, they're supposed to start filming early 2021.
Supposed to, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I think one of the most brilliant things they did in season 2 of Disco was bring in Anson Mount.
Yes.
I think he was great. I mean, it's not like I was attached to the other Christopher Pike. I mean, Jeffrey Hunter was great in The Cage, if you've ever seen original Star Trek, which I'm sure you have.
Yes.
But not everybody has. And then, of course, the guy who played Pike in the wheelchair in the Menagerie episode that they cut together from The Cage, who knows who that guy was. I feel bad for him because he's just the guy in the wheelchair.
And Bruce Greenwood in the films.
Bruce Greenwood in the films. Yeah, no, Bruce Greenwood's great too, which is funny because they could have, I bet Bruce Greenwood might have been interested in playing it in the show. Although that's the Kelvin universe, so who knows if it's even canon, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all Star Trek stories. I think it's all good, but
well, it's a multiverse, right? It's a multiverse, so it solves everything.
Sure, and maybe they did ask Bruce Greenwood, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm not really interested in committing."
I'm doing all my Stephen King adaptations. I don't have time for your Star Trek bullshit. No, I'm sure he was busy. He's a very busy guy. I mean, Anson Mount's a great actor too, but I thought he was brilliant in the show.
Yeah,
and
he was fantastic.
I'm very pleased that they're going to do a show with him. I actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, I like Star Trek Discovery, but I'm actually more excited about a Christopher Pike show than I am about Discovery.
I kind of am too, and I
hate to say that, but
Ethan Peck did a great job as Spock. He was better as bearded Spock. It was kind of jarring at the end when he was clean shaven, but I mean, I'm sure I'll get used to it. But I thought he did great. He kind of brought his own interpretation of the character, but I thought he had enough kind of voice inflections and mannerisms that kind of shadowed Nimoy just enough to say, yeah, that is the same character. And then, Rebecca Romijn is always pretty awesome, and she seemed and seems in all interviews since then to really relish having played number 1. So
yes, no. That's great transition from me there. Professional podcaster here, everybody.
Sure.
But I agree with you. I think they did a great job with everybody. I mean, you think, well, they're going to bring Spock. I'm hesitant. I'm like, worried a little bit that maybe somehow it's going to, suck.
Right.
But it didn't. He did a good job. And Anson Mount again, awesome as Pike. Rebecca Romijn, awesome as number 1. I think that we're going to get, if they keep up the consistency and the quality, and they do the stories. And here's the other thing that I think is going to be cool is I feel like Anson Mount's Pike can be more like Kirk in a way. He can go off and like be the man of action. He's not a diplomat like Picard. He's like, I'm going to go kick this thing's ass, and I'm going to go on the landing party at number 1. You stay on the ship.
Yes.
Like Kirk used to. He's like, but then of course when Next Generation came around, it's like Riker's like, no, Captain, you stay on the ship. I go to the away parties. Come on,
Right.
I got to meet the girls. Now, do you like me with the beard or not the beard? Because I'm just saying. So, that brings up a very important question: Riker with the beard or no?
I say with.
I agree. I tend to think Riker with the beard is better. So.
Yeah. That seemed to, and maybe that's because that kind of signaled when the quality greatly improved on Next Generation when Riker grew a beard. So.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, I love the show, but the first season was kind of rough. Let's be honest.
First 2 were tough. First, especially to get through all the way. The second one, when they replaced Dr. Crusher with that other kind of horrid woman, what
was her name?
I don't even remember the character's name. I know I'm going to get blasted for that, but she. Yes.
Polanski.
Yeah.
Dr.
Pulaski. Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
They seem to just kind of put her in there just to create conflict and to make fun of Data and all this kind of stuff. And
I always kind of thought she was like a sort of echoing McCoy a bit.
A little bit, but not in that kind of Southern doctor kind of way. Is kind of like in the I'm just going to go around and kick everyone in the shins kind of way. And it just
my only thought about it at the time was like, oh, they're trying to develop this dynamic like McCoy and Spock a little bit.
Yeah, and it didn't work, obviously.
But, no, it didn't work. It didn't work. And Gates McFadden came back, thank goodness. I liked her character better.
Yeah, she's great. And hopefully, she's kind of hinting that she may be in Picard season 2. And that's another one to look forward to in the Star Trek thing.
Yeah, as we've mentioned on other shows or other episodes of the podcast, I'm thrilled that we're getting so much Trek. I think there's not enough Trek, and there could always be more Trek and more. It's funny. I don't feel the same way about Star Wars. I feel like you could do 10 Star Trek shows. I don't want to see 10 different Star Wars shows. I'm happy about Mando.
Yeah,
and I'm on the fence about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like Ewan McGregor. That might be cool. It might be, not cool. So I'm on the fence about that, like I said, but I'll still watch it because of curiosity.
Sure.
But that's not something I'm, really looking forward to like I am with Star Trek Disco or
I really am not.
Strange New Worlds.
And I guess Star Wars to me, Mandalorian to me is kind of the exception to the rule because it's just so well done. But Star Wars to me is like, if we get a movie like every 3 to 5 years, I'd be happy with that. And it seems, kind of like you said, better in small doses. But Star Trek, I'm like, if we could just have around the year Star Trek series. I mean, the cool thing is right now, I know a lot of people complained when Discovery aired that Star Trek is supposed to be moving forward and now we're going back to before Kirk, but now we have Star Trek shows that are, set in the time before Kirk, that are set after the Next Generation, and now with Discovery in the far future, and with Lower Decks kind of in between Picard and Next Generation and things like that. So there's so many points in the Star Trek universe and history to explore. Why not explore them all? And we're still getting shows like Picard that move forward into the future. So.
The only thing about Picard, I don't think that's going to go on very long. I feel like, Patrick Stewart's like, 3 seasons.
That's what he's kind of indicated. That we got 3 years, and that's probably good. I don't want it to be like year 8, and we're like, oh, really? Can he just go?
Okay, push him in on the wheelchair.
Right.
Make it so.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that's terrible.
I think they're smart enough, and I know, people dislike Kurtzman, and every week it's like, oh, Kurtzman's getting fired, just like Kathleen Kennedy off of Star Wars. But I think Kurtzman and kind of the core group that he has working on the various shows, know how to make really good TV, and I think they are very good and very big fans of Star Trek, and I think they're making some of the best Trek we've ever had right now. So. I trust that they also know that it's like, maybe we shouldn't make any more of this. It's probably time to be done. So,
I kind of got the feeling that they were the real sort of fans. JJ was not a diehard Star Trek fan. It was more of a job for him,
right,
than anything else.
No, I agree. Yeah,
and so I kind of. People always blame people for things they don't like in a show. Like, I hated Lost finale. I hated this. It's Kurtzman's fault. This is guy's fault. It's, whatever. And people hear rumors about people having conflicts and getting fired and creative differences and whatever. So what? Right. You got a bunch of passionate people in the room trying to make the best show they can. Sometimes disagreements are going to happen, and sometimes people are assholes. That's true.
Yeah.
And sometimes people get fired for good reasons. But it doesn't mean that when things click and it starts to work properly, that a show can't be really good.
Well,
I was very, I was excited about Discovery, and I think they did a good job. And I love Picard. And not everybody did, I know that. And I'll watch whatever they make because, I'm a Star Trek fan. In fact, if I had to pick, I was a Star Trek fan first.
Yeah.
Before I was a Star Wars fan, because Star Wars didn't exist when I was a kid. Star Trek existed, and I would watch that because, as I'm sure I've said, we moved around a bit when I was a kid, and so Star Trek was always on. I was like, oh, thank God, everything's cool now. I could feel okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very comforting, and so that's why I think to this day, I have more of an affinity for Star Trek. I mean, I love Star Wars. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It was an amazing movie to see as a kid, and it changed my life in many ways. It made me want to work in the show businesses, but it still doesn't have that same effect on me that Star Trek does. So there you go.
No, I agree. I'm right there.
I'm gonna get some hate mail for that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that's why I kind of get turning negative for a little bit. That's why I get irritated with all the clickbait articles that are like, here's who could have been cast. Here's who might have been cast.
This is a positive and optimistic show. Come on, no hate.
The whole here's how Star Wars could have gone. Here's who could have been.
Sure.
And I'm like, but they weren't.
Wait 10 years, they'll reboot the shit out of everything, right. So it's fine.
But I'm like, they weren't cast as it. We got what we got, and again, it falls back to the thing of if you don't hate something because they didn't make it the way you want to. Go out and make it, or get to the point where you're offered the chance to make your own Star Wars. Don't.
Yeah, who were those guys that made their own Star Trek show?
Oh,
I can't remember the name of them.
There was 2 or 3 fan productions there for a while.
And they had like their own Star Trek Bridge, and Walter Koenig was on some episodes. Was George Takei on a couple episodes too?
George Takei was on. Walter Koenig was. They got some other actors, and
they took your advice. They said, you know what, we're going to make our own show, and we did. So
yep. And
for them,
they've actually turned.
One had Grant Imahara played Mr. Sulu.
That's true.
There you go. There you go.
Grant. And, they ended up turning that into a money-making venture licensed because, CBS came out and said, no more fan productions. And they said, well, we have these sets produced from the original blueprints. Why don't we turn this into a Star Trek tour? And they have, and it does really well. And William Shatner goes and gives personal tours on it and stuff like that. So, again, that's a prime example of if it's not being done the way you want, go and do it yourself the way you want to. And, if it is a quality thing that other people want to see, they'll see it. And, there you go.
Exactly. Like this podcast, it's a quality thing and people will listen to it.
Yes, exactly.
It's the show of optimism. So there's my optimistic opinion about the show. So there you go.
There you go. I like it.
So, all right. So I grabbed a bunch of stuff. I said a bunch of stuff about Star Trek. Now we have to swing back to you. So what else is on your list?
Well, actually something that, I don't know how imminent it is, but I'm sure it will eventually come out. I am, of course, really looking forward to the next James Bond movie, No Time to Die.
Oh, yeah. That's not on my list. Oh, no, it is. I can see it. Never mind. Sorry.
I
I just can't read, apparently.
Yes, I've always been a huge James Bond fan. I still get every time there's a new movie announced or a new Bond announced or a release date is announced for Bond. I still get excited and still look forward to it. And this one, sounds like it's going to be really special. I think Daniel Craig has been a fantastic James Bond. One of the things I like about the Daniel Craig James Bond movies is, this is kind of based on what we've heard about this new movie, but I think this is like the first time we've really gotten to see James Bond from the beginning of his career to the end of his career, and that to me
definitely
is kind of exciting. And they've set up a lot of things in the other movies that are paying off and stuff like that. So I am really looking forward to this. Of course, I don't want to see Daniel Craig go as James Bond, but he's done 5 movies, and they're grueling movies to do. So I thank him for what he's given us, and I look forward to this and to whatever they decide to do with the future of James Bond. So
thank you for your service, Daniel Craig.
Sure, I don't know if I'll see it in the theaters if it was released there, but hopefully soon I'll be able to see it, and it looks like a lot of fun. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll say I was not skeptical about Daniel Craig after seeing Layer Cake. I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh yeah.
So I watched that movie. I thought he was great in it, and then I'm like, oh, he's going to be James Bond. That's awesome. And in Casino Royale, I thought he was a good sort of gritty, younger Bond, sort of figuring things out. And you're absolutely right. We've seen basically his entire arc. I mean, in this movie, apparently he's coming back from retirement, right?
Right.
So he doesn't have quite enough time to die or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a clever play on words for the title.
Oh, sure.
But I too am looking forward to the next James Bond. I do enjoy a good James Bond film and always have seen them all many times. And I kind of am curious what'll happen because he's had a good run. And I think if I had to pick, he's probably my second favorite. I still think Sean Connery's my favorite, to be honest. But Daniel Craig's probably number two, and supplanting Pierce Brosnan, who I also thought was underrated but pretty good too.
I'll be curious to see how finite a point they put on it. I mean, I don't know that they would kill him, but here's the thing. I mean, they can do anything. They can end it however they want, because if they're truly going to recast another actor as James Bond, they can just restart, everything again with the next movie. So
they can, absolutely, or it'll be Jane Bond or whatever, right? Supposedly.
I'd be fine with that too. I mean,
maybe it's time for that. Well, that's interesting because the woman in No Time to Die, actress Lashana Lynch, is also in one of my picks for things that I'm optimistic about. So I'm going to segue now, if that's okay.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. So, she's supposed to, in theory, be the new Bond or the new 00.
She's the 007 in the movie, not necessarily Bond. But
that's true. I mean, James Bond could be anybody too, as opposed. Yeah, exactly. The new 007. I'm sorry. My apologies. But she's also playing a pivotal role in the show that's going to come out eventually based on Why the Last Man.
That was not on my list, but yes.
It is. In fact, apparently, according to reports, it's already done and it's in post.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's for FX. It's a series. Remember, it's been the trip to the screen for Why the Last Man has been a long one, and it was a movie, then it was a TV show, and then it was a movie again, and then it was a miniseries, and it was this, it was that, and then it all fell apart, and then it came back together. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of the comics. I think it's a great story to be told episodically. I think it's smarter to do it episodically than in a movie, because I don't know if you could really do it justice in a movie. You could try, but I don't think you could. And I think FX is a pretty good place to do it because they have more freedom to tell the story the way it could be told. Because it's basically, if you're not familiar, folks, it's a post-apocalyptic story about the last male on Earth who walks around with his monkey. That's not a metaphor. He's actually got a monkey. And they're the last man and the last monkey on Earth. Yeah, the last males, exactly. And they get into, adventures, etc. But she plays Agent 355 in Why the Last Man, who's a very important role in that show. So it's interesting that she's getting these kind of parts because she's kind of a secret agent in Why the Last Man, too. So
yeah, Why the Last Man, I read. I actually started with issue 1 and read it monthly. There were some breaks and gaps here and there, but I read it as each issue came out through the entire run. I think it lasted like 60 issues or so. And Brian K. Vaughan is the writer, and it was a great series. And when they, announced they were trying to make a TV or a movie version of it, I kind of thought of it the same way as I did the Game of Thrones novels. I'm like, there's no way you could do this justice in a movie or even like a trilogy of movies. It's got to be, a series and episodic and stuff like that. And so thankfully, much like Game of Thrones, they ended up doing it as a TV series. So I'm very much looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget Pia Guerrera too, the artist.
Oh yeah, she's a fantastic artist. So yeah.
Yeah, I usually like to try to, especially at something like this where she did all the art.
Yes.
For the entire run, and so it's basically her and Brian K. Vaughan who both, I feel like, created the comic and sort of executed it together.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree.
But yeah, the cat. Yeah, I knew you did. I just I like to throw it out there. In case we forget. The cast actually sounds pretty good too. Diane Lane is in it. As I said, Lashana Lynch, Amber Tamblyn, and Timothy Hutton as the president.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yep.
So it should be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I feel that if it's going to be done well, it's going to be done well this way. It's probably much the only way, as we said. So I'm optimistic, and I will definitely want to watch it, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I think you're right. FX is a good home. They can kind of push and sometimes go over boundaries, more so than broadcast TV. They're not, like HBO, where they're going to be like Game of Thrones and show naked women gratuitously every 20 minutes. But that's not necessarily important for this story. So I think they can really do it justice, and I'll be interested to see how much material they cover in the first season, which would give an idea of how its longevity. So I hope
how many issues was the comic? Do you remember?
Well, like I said, I think it was around 60. I want to say it was 60. It went like
there's like 8 or 10 trades, I think, which has if I could turn around and look at my shelf because they're all over there, but that's too much work. So let's just say 10 trades with like 3 issues apiece. So that's like 30 issues. Does that make sense?
No, usually trades have like 6 issues.
I'm sorry, 6 issues. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. So that's what, 60?
Yeah, it did.
Let's go with
60 issues. So it was monthly for issues 1 through 55, and then went bi-monthly from 56 through 60 for the last kind of story arc. But I can't
see it. It's on the other shelf. I can't see. It's dark over there.
Yeah, so roughly, if you go 12 issues a year, roughly 5 years. So they in theory could do 5 seasons and really tell the story well. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Something else I'm looking forward to that's probably quite a ways down the road from us, but has gone back into production recently, is The Matrix 4. I know
what?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are not looking forward to that, but I'm going to be honest. I'm a huge fan of all 3 of the Matrix movies. I thought it was while it's I don't know, it seemed to kind of like Raised by Wolves. It seemed to pull from a lot of places and a lot of familiar things, but still felt interesting and new to me. And I felt that way even with the 2 sequels. And I'm glad they got to tell the story that they wanted to tell in the way they wanted to. I thought it was a fine story and a great universe to be in for 3 movies. And I'm very, very interested to see how they continue the story. And a lot of that comes from the fact that Keanu Reeves is really excited about where it's going. And so is Carrie-Anne Moss. They're both in it. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you have the same interest or love of the Matrix movies as I do, but
I like the first one a lot. I thought it was a very innovative and really beautiful to look at, and I enjoyed it very much. I sort of felt like for 2 and 3 they didn't have as much of a clear idea of what to do and how to execute it, and as such, those movies are sort of less exciting to me. But I do want to see the 4th one, simply because I want to see, as you said, how they sort of do with the story and continue the story. And because it seemed like it was pretty finite at the end of 3. It's like, well, the machine intelligence is destroyed and everyone's free. We're going to party in Zion, right, or whatever.
Right.
So where do you go from here? I mean, what do you do? So it'll be interesting to see.
We'll find out.
I know it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off, and I think if anyone can do it, the Wachowskis have the mental capacity, the brain power, the talent to pull it off. So,
well, this one's just Lana Wachowski. It's not both.
Oh,
it
is.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was both of them. I'm sorry.
No, and Lana, I thought, did some fantastic work with Sense8 on Netflix. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I really enjoyed all 3 movies, and it's like one of those universes that I'm like, yeah, I'll take a visit back to that. I would like to see what's going on, and if maybe things didn't go the way they were or the way they thought they were once they got their freedom. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a while. It'll probably be 2022 before. I think now they've pushed the release date back to April of 2022. But
yes, definitely.
That's definitely something a ways down the road to look forward to. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss, like you said, Jada Pinkett Smith also coming back, and Lambert Wilson as the Merovingian. So
Yes.
shit's gonna go down.
Yep. So
Why not? You know what? Why not?
Yeah.
If let's have another Matrix, and see what happens.
If Mad About You can get revived, I think that The Matrix should get revived. So there you go. That's my opinion.
I agree. Mad About You got revived. Wow,
yeah, they did a short run series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. So
why not? Okay. So I'm down with The Matrix 4. Why not?
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you are looking forward to?
there are a couple things here and there. The revival of Leverage. That's an old favorite because that shot here in Portland.
Leverage.
So that's coming back on IMDb TV, which, I mean, I guess why not everybody do original content at this point? Apparently IMDb is doing
Flickcast TV.
That's what I'm saying. We could do original content, man. Let's do it.
We could.
I mean, I think we are doing original content with the podcast.
I guess this is technically an original show, right?
We could do scripted original content. So
you didn't? Oh, this isn't scripted.
No.
I wrote a whole screenplay. Apparently, I'm not good at following the script. So, okay. So, speaking of things, I'm also looking forward to. Let me just run down my list here.
Sure,
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh yes.
Because I love the Ghostbusters and I want to see how they bring it back. This trailer was awesome. I think it looks good. Eventually, we'll get to see it. It's done, and they're just waiting to release it. I'm also interested in seeing The Eternals, which apparently is also done.
Yes.
I think I could just lump in any sort of Disney/Marvel project because I love them all.
Widow,
Yeah, Black Widow. Yeah, absolutely. I love them all, even though, you can say whatever you want about their overall quality or whatever. It's just superhero movies. It's not real movies, Marty Scorsese. But I love all that stuff. I don't care. They're fun. Yeah. And fun is important, especially these days. So I am looking forward to all of those. Ant-Man 3 with maybe Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, yes.
I'm looking forward to the WandaVision show because I want to see that, and I want to see Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I want to see all this shit that's all Marvel all the time.
Doom Patrol got renewed for a third season, so
yeah, exactly. And I'm sure we'll get an Umbrella Academy season 3, which is also cool.
Yes.
Here's a couple more things. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm sure I have. I'm a huge fan of The Right Stuff. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, the series that's coming out on Apple. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
No, Disney Plus, actually, I think.
Oh, is it Disney Plus? I can't remember now. Oh, maybe it is.
Here's the thing. I love the movie. And the book is good, too. If you've never read the book, it's definitely worth reading. But the movie was great, and I thought that they did a really good job with it. And it's very heroic, and it's very, gung-ho about the space program, which I'm a huge fan of the space program and astronauts and all that stuff. I love all that stuff. Space stuff is cool.
Oh, yeah.
So this is supposed to be more of a gritty, anti-nostalgia look at the space race, at the Mercury program, which I'm also interested in.
Yes.
So if I'm being perfectly honest, I will watch almost anything about space. So I'm down.
The movie made me want to read the book, which I did, and I love them both. But I don't think that it has to stop there. I think a series on it. I mean, I loved From Earth to the Moon. I thought that was just beautifully done. I even like For All Mankind, which is kind of an alt history version of the space race, that's also coming back for a second season. That I think. Yeah, I enjoyed that show too. I think they finished shooting that too. So yeah, you're right. Anything to do with space, Apollo 13, I loved. Any of that stuff is just like candy to me. I have to watch it. I have to read it. I have to hear about it. I agree. I'm looking.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned From the Earth to the Moon. That was a show or a series that I totally loved.
Yes.
And for the longest time, I was like, I want to watch it again. And so I found like a cheesy ass DVD version of it. So I watched it. And then of course HBO Max comes out and it's on there now.
Well, and it is out on, I want to say Blu-ray, but they may have remastered it for 4K as well. But it is definitely out on Blu-ray, remastered. in letterbox format and all this. It looks
and I've watched it all several times and I loved it. And then of course that led me to Apollo 13, which is a great movie.
Yes,
which also features Tom Hanks as well. Although Tom Hanks is not in From Earth to the Moon, he just produced it because he loves space stuff too, and typewriters, which I appreciate.
Yes, he does.
So all of that stuff's cool. I'm totally down with that. Love that, all that stuff. I will watch it for sure. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to.
Well, so should we do picks now? I'm kidding. The whole episode was picks.
It really was. It really kind of was. Yeah, I don't know if I need to pick anything else. I picked everything.
No, I don't think so.
Actually, if I'm going to pick anything, it's going to be Hackers. Go watch Hackers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's worth it because it's just so dumb, but it's so fun.
I'll pick Swordfish. No, I really won't. You should not watch that.
No, you really won't. No, you really won't. I think that's all the things that I really had on my list. I don't know if you have anything else, but maybe we've exhausted our optimism.
I got tons of stuff, and thankfully we do have a lot of things to look forward to. And,
that's true.
As we mentioned, some things have already gone back into production. A lot more things will. So, I think we've had a little bit of a dry summer, if you want to call it, with there's been some TV stuff, but not being able to go to movies. And I think everyone kind of took a creative and collective pause there for a little bit, but it's good to know and uplifting to know that things are going to continue, at least entertainment wise, with, music and comics and books, and now, TV and movies. So, I
definitely.
There's a lot of great stuff to look forward to over the next however many months. So
and I'm sure part of it is that people they need these things, and I'm glad that. I mean, I don't want people in production going out and risking their lives to bring us TV shows either. If they can do this stuff safely,
sure,
that's great. But I'd rather wait if it's going to risk anybody's life or cause any harm to anybody, because I can wait another 6 months for another show or a year or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not that big a deal. I still have books, and I still have all the movies I already own that I can watch again, and all the streaming services, which have a bunch of stuff on them, all the old stuff, whatever. There's still a lot of old movies you can watch. There's still a lot of old TV you can watch. Okay, cool. We're on Patreon, and if you want to support the show, please go and give us a few bucks. We will use it for making the show better and put the money back into the production. No one's going to get rich or anything. It's simply to keep bringing more content and better content to you, the listener.
Content.
Yeah. If you like what we're doing, there's, and if you have some spare change in your sofa or whatever, it's not terribly expensive. I know things are weird right now, but, if you wanted to support the show, we'd appreciate it.
We would, yes.
You can also find us at the usual places: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Where else are we? iHeartRadio. Pretty much everywhere you can.
Yeah.
Where? Oh, Google. Yeah. You can pretty much find the show everywhere that you can find a podcast. We're actually on YouTube now, so you can go there to get the podcast. There's no video. There's no pictures of Joe and I, fortunately for you.
No.
But you can listen to the show on YouTube if you want to.
We won't Chris Evans you on YouTube, we promise. So
now that I've got your attention.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be an old joke by the time this airs. But that's okay.
I know. We will have to cut that out.
I know. But yeah, please, go subscribe to us on YouTube, and whatever your favorite podcast listening app is, you can search for us on there. You already probably have if you're listening to this, but tell your friends, tell 2 friends. And they'll tell 2 friends, and so on and so on.
Yes. And if you feel strongly about it, if you don't want to do the Patreon, that's totally understandable. If you want to help in other ways, you can also go to like Apple Podcasts, for example, and rate the show or give us a review. Hopefully a positive one, but a rating is nice too. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, get in on the Patreon now and subscribe now.
Or the Patreon, whatever that is.
Right, and push, tell your friends all about it. So, just think of it this way. Eventually, when the day comes that we're, a household name, you could say, hey, I was there from the beginning. So there you go.
I was into those guys before anybody.
Yeah. So
it's a classic line from a classic movie.
Yes.
Anyway, it's Repo Man, I think, if you remember correctly. Have you ever seen Repo Man, Joe?
I have multiple times. That's
a pretty good movie if you've never seen that. But if you've never seen Repo Man, folks, you should watch that. It's
but that'll be my pick. Yours is Hackers, mine is Repo Man. There we go.
Yeah, 80s, 90s nostalgia.
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
I like that.
perfect.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So. Cool. All right. So for Joe Dilworth, I am Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everybody.